The story of Warriors Athletics, the people that have built the program to what it is today. There are many who have left a mark, but you can make the claim, and it would be fair to say, that no one has left a bigger mark on Warriors Athletics than Paul Knueppel, the first ever full-time director of athletics. His name is now on the Hall of Fame. He was a 2014 inductee. Paul F. Knueppel is our special guest in this month's edition of Warriors One-on-One. Coach, I appreciate this very much. We could probably do a monthly series on the stories and the experiences you've had. I want to start with just a couple weeks ago, the 2025 Warriors Athletics Hall of Fame, most recent induction ceremony, and for the first time, your name is on it. It's now the Paul F. Knueppel Warriors Athletics Hall of Fame. What did that mean to you when you found out earlier in the spring that they were going to put your name on the Hall of Fame forever?
Yeah, well, Skip and President Johnson came over and sat down and we talked a little bit, and then they sprang the thing on me. So I said, thanks a lot.
What was that night like?
And so, no, then we didn't reflect on it at all. We just talked about a whole bunch of different things, and I didn't really start thinking about it till I got back to my apartment. And then I thought, that's really cool.
What was that night like? A couple weeks ago.
Oh, a couple weeks ago.
The event.
I wasn't even, I just called Adam and said I was coming.
Yeah.
Nobody, I had not gone for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was great.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I've had 2 standing ovations. That one, and then when I got off a bus in Fraser, Montana, in the middle of winter after winning 2 games in a tournament, which they had never done in years, and everybody was standing when I got off the bus. So that was my other standing ovation.
1987. We're going to go back here because 1987, you arrive as the first full-time director of athletics at Wisconsin Lutheran College, helping to transition WLC and athletics from a 2-year to a 4-year school. You took the varsity sports level from 6 up to, I think, about 14 or so. We could spend, an hour talking about what those early days were like. But for people who have no idea, how would you describe what WLC was like and what athletics was like late 80s?
Simply, I can say we didn't have any uniforms that were up to date at all. So the first thing I thought, okay, when I went around and talked to each of the coaches and the players, I asked each one, what would you like? So the girls volleyball team said, we'd like new uniforms. We don't have any, and particularly the pants that we wear, the shorts that we wear for volleyball are being worn by the soccer guys.
They were sharing uniforms.
Yeah, the same type of uniforms. So I go to the soccer people and I ask them, what would you prefer? And they said, we want to get rid of those doggone volleyball pants that we have to wear. So I had to get pants for both of them. But that's an example. I mean, it's just all that kind of stuff was in there. We didn't have enough money. We didn't have enough, to just go out and buy uniforms for everybody. Mm-hmm. So we had to wait. And at the start of that, as I said, I had to remove a couple of the guys that thought they were going to be coaches because they were only going to do it like really part-time instead of being there every day for the players. So, like the women's basketball, I'll just say as a quick example, that I even started the season with women's basketball, which, by the way, they had lost a game 119-16 to Concordia. And so I thought, this can't go on, and I'm going with the same coach. No, So the season starts, and I took care of that too.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It was from coaches to uniforms to places to play. You think we had any place to play? Nope. One night coming back from my coach the basketball team. So they had a fairly good coach. Coach the basketball team. We got back from I don't know where, and we were pounded probably. And I just opened the van. It was like 11 o'clock at night. Looked up at the sky and said, what am I doing here?
Okay, okay, but that does beg the question. What drew you to WLC in the first place? You were at Winnebago Lutheran Academy. Why make that leap of faith to this unproven entity? What drew you?
Well, I had worked with the Board of Regents because I believed that a Lutheran college for the Wells was something that was really needed. Mm-hmm. And they had the college at DMLC, and then they had the college at Watertown. And I was just, why don't we have one that's available to everyone? And not just Wells Christians either. I always believed from the start that we should invite any Christians that wanted to be in here, or anybody that would act in the appropriate manner as far as when they were at the college. Mm-hmm. So that's what I thought. I was at I went to the board meetings. Then Gary Greenfield asked, who would you recommend for the job? And I said, well, I gave him a list of 5 people to be I'm not going to name. And then I said, I think I could probably do it as well as those guys.
So you put your hand
and
up.
He said, no, it was a phone call.
Okay.
And so that's what happened. And then like 2 months later, they offered me a position to be the athletic director. But you have to raise money and you got to build a gym.
You talk about getting the right coaches in there, the right people, right, in those places, in uniforms, and those
Yes.
very, very basic elements. But you're the first person to say you need the structure. I mean, we're sitting here, oh, by the way, in Jeremiah Hoffman, the current athletic director's office. We're sitting in his office inside the recreation complex. This building, as you told me the other day, this building, this was everything. This was a catalyst. Is that fair to say?
I think what happened was, first, I'll go back just slightly. So when I was on the board, they were going to build the library. And they had gotten, I think, $1 million from Schwann for that. Something like that, anyway, we had gotten. And I was sitting at the board meeting, and they said, okay, we got to do a gym, we got to do a library. What are we going to do? We can put, classrooms in the library, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so they went right around the room. There were about maybe 20 of us in there, 15, 20. And they asked everybody, and I was one of the last ones. And I said, well, if I was one of the coaches, I'd rather be hung in effigy before the library rather than before the athletic center. So they all looked at me. And we ended up with the library first.
Okay.
So they did that.
Right.
And then what was the architecture? So this is Gary Greenfield. Why does it resemble Romanesque architecture? Why did he do that? Well, he had a vision he was one of the few guys with a vision. I did not have the same vision because the money difference between laying bricks one at a time and just putting up a shed kind of, with a metal building or something is a lot of money. But he wanted to do that. And he wanted a quadrangle. So he pictured those two things, really. But that was it. Romanesque architecture and the quadrangle. That's what's in his head. But when he was going to build, and this is not, all right, Greenfield was great. Okay. But
He had a vision.
he saw it. He
Yeah.
saw it. He went around to all of the schools, colleges, and he visited all over the place. I mean, when you talked to him, he'd been all over, and he looked, and he wanted a college on a hill, which we are on a little hill, and that he could put a cross on the top of it, and I don't know what else his dream was. Anyway, that it was, well, the quadrangle would be there, but he did not have a feel for the building itself. In other words, he was going to put in, and this is not a knock on him because he had to raise all this money, but he visioned this as having 2 basketball courts and having a art center in it and having a musical center in it.
In the recreation complex.
Well, when he was going to build the gym,
Right.
those were going to be attached to it. So, they also did not have a feeling for what was needed from a coaching standpoint in college. What I brought in was he asked me to help bring a committee together for this building. And so that's why I said to you the other day, that's why the building is important in this.
And getting it right.
And getting it right, yes. And so I took all these people around and visited all these different places. And it was like I can't remember everybody. People like Deb Eaker, Mel Frisky, I don't know. It was just like 7, 8 good people. When they came back, they're going to build a palace, for Pete's sake. Because I didn't take them just to good places. I took them to the other colleges that were here. I took them to high schools. I took them, and they saw everything. And when they saw something they liked, man, we got to do this. We got to do that. So they came back, and I had to bring them back down off the ledge of saying, we're going to spend X $15 million, when that's 1992.
Yeah, 91, 92.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
Still is. Still is, Coach.
Okay, so you mind a mistake I made was, okay, now we're building this building.
Building the rec, right?
And Gary is sitting at meetings. He'd come once in a while. And then we had meetings with members of the board that were also in on this project. And the architects and the guys doing the actual buildings finally said, Gary, you gotta come up with a number. How much are we gonna spend? And so he said, he coughed. His building was gonna be 1.9 million. And then he coughed and he said, 4 million. I'll go to 4 million. He was just shaking his head. And I knew when we went to the meeting, when we went to our own private cabinet meeting, he's going to say, how am I going to raise this money? But the other guys would not give in, the other faculty members. I didn't say they were faculty members that were on the committee, but they did not give in. Anytime we talk about it, they'd say, we have to do this better, And so that's well, and I'll give you what my big mistake was. So I put all this stuff in the building, okay? I was chairman of the building committee. So I put all this stuff in the building. And I didn't check as much as I should have. I figured the guys heard 4 million at the meeting. Okay, they were at the meeting. The architect, the builders were there, construction guys. They all heard it, 4 million. So I'm planning along thinking they're agreeing with me and they do all this stuff. What do you think it was when we got to the meeting with the board members there, everybody's there, Gary and the cabinet and the guys from the board, and the number comes up, 9.2?
You went from 4 to 9.2.
9.2. And they are all looking around the table at each other. And I'm saying, well, there's only one guy. The architects aren't going to say it's their fault. The construction guys aren't going to say it's their fault. Greenfield can't say it's his fault. So,
See,
so
all the fingers
said,
pointed at you.
I said it's my fault. It's my fault. I should have gotten back to the construction guys and gone through the money before we got here today. We're gonna change that, and we'll come back again. So the meeting ended right there. So when we came back, it ended up to be like 5.6 million, I believe. But that included some of the boilers that they added in. So it was probably more 5 million or so, something like that.
Your fingerprints are all over this campus. Your fingerprints are all over Warriors athletics. Do you think in this day and age, like, could WLC happen again?
Yes.
It could.
It could.
That story could be restarted
What
again?
did Gary do? He got the right people together. You know, guys that would be aggressive, guys that would be people that would see it would get done and they'd see it through. They wouldn't just start something and then, and they all agree. They disagreed on what the building. Wait, do you think, as chairman of the residential halls, you think anybody wanted to put them? You don't put residential halls out in the middle on the front of the campus. You don't do that. They kept saying you don't do that. I didn't know where the heck else they were going, nor did they. But they just say you can't put them out front. They just keep saying that.
I'd say that turned out pretty good.
So I went down to the guys and I said, you have to come in with a speech, the architects, which convinces people that is going to be a great place for them. I don't care what you say or what you do. You just gotta convince them. And so we have Greenfield Hall. So the guy comes in and speaks. We have Greenfield Hall. I can't say everything he said, but and it's standing on this hill. And we are putting 2 huge buildings that are going to be exactly the same in architecture. And it's going to frame Greenfield Hall. And he kept going on with that. And people are nodding their heads, yes, yes. And then he said, and in the middle there, we're going to have another quadrangle. And that quadrangle is going to be filled with trees. And you actually go out there and look now. And the trees were put in, if you look, on either side of the quadrangle. So when you come in, you drive in. So he would say, when you walk by or when you drive in, you'll look between this row of trees and you'll see Greenfield Hall, and we'll call that the Socratic Woods.
Wow. Do they call it that?
Maybe he went a little far. But everybody agreed this was a great place. So it happened.
Yeah.
We've won many awards on that thing.
Yeah.
Best resident halls among liberal art colleges, or best in or in Wisconsin anyway.
What was the key in hiring good people? Because whether it were those coaches back in the 80s when you were in the formative stages, whether it's hiring Skip Noon, and we know the impact he had, what were like the traits you looked for in hiring people?
You just have to get people that are friendly with other people, I think, and then you have to get people, well, not for every job, but for most of the jobs around the college that have to interact with people. They got to be friendly. They got to be, and they have to be hardworking. So you just get good people that you give them jobs, you make sure that they're happy, and they then want to continue on, and then they want to make sure it works. And, they become responsible for it. Then they start arguing with you. And that's good.
It's okay.
No, that's
It's not a
good
bad
because they
thing,
think we should be doing this.
Right. Disagreement can be a good thing. It should be a good thing if
Yes.
a good solution comes out of it.
No, I mean they are people then that they're hard workers. They are in, they're in the war with you to win this doggone thing.
And it shows they care. It
Yeah,
shows they
and they
care.
really care about it. That's
Right?
why. That's why.
So what drove you? I want to get back to that. Like, what drove you every day? Because those are hard days. Those are hard years. Whether you're opening the van and looking up to the heavens going, what did I do? What's happening?
Well, that's
or you're
it.
battling the Milwaukee County Board to get approval for county grounds, or any number of battles, internal, external. What drove you? Because you probably could have thrown your hands up and said,
It's a school. It needed to be built. That's what it did. The college needed to grow. So I had been trained very well. My father went around. He was, I can't use that term. My mother would say it's not a bad term, but he just went he went to Nebraska. I'll give you one quick example. He went to Nebraska. When he got there, they had boarded up the church. They hadn't gotten the pastor that was there had not left yet. So he was sent there to fix that problem. And then this is kind of interesting too. He was sent to Sturgeon Bay, to a little church called Nassawapi, because the SS troopers, my dad came from Germany, and he came over 1925 or something like that. But when he was given this job, he was to come and serve the SS troopers that were prisoners of war, which were the toughest guys. So they brought them the furthest from the East Coast and ended up in Door County. So he came and did that. So each time it was something had happened.
mm-hmm.
A guy killed a guy, all kinds of stuff that drive people in church apart.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was good at doing that, and I would see him doing that. And then I left. They sent me to Northwestern Prep, so I was on my own there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to La Crosse, from there to Greeley for a master's degree, and then I was going over to overseas. I was in the holy cow, who are those guys? Yeah,
But
So what drives me was just that I walked into the school at Fraser, my first job. My wife and I just went out there in a little red Beetle. And we went to Fort Peck Reservation, and I went to Fraser. I walked in the gym, and I looked at the graduating. It's an Indian reservation.
mm-hmm.
There are one Indian in the graduating class. One. Ivan Archdale. There are about in the senior class, in the junior class. I looked at the pictures on the wall. They got no Indians, hardly any, like 10 Indians graduated in 20 years or something they had on the wall. Unbelievably. I'm here working with these. That can't happen, is what I said to myself.
Mm-hmm.
That can't happen. God loves everybody. So what drove me to do that? They needed it. And then I went to the next place, and they needed something else. And then I ended up in Winnebago Lutheran, because I wanted to be accredited to do that. So
what's your advice for people in similar positions as yourself? What's your advice for directors of athletics, even now? And maybe they face different challenges than you did, but still it's a challenging position. What advice do you offer?
they have to really want to do it. It's a very hard job, I believe. So the college has been very lucky that guys like Joe Litke, Clay, who else have stayed around? Dennis Miller came and stayed around. They didn't leave, so you selected good people that enjoyed what they were doing. And like Joe Litke was a really good soccer player at UWM. So you talk to that guy, and I don't know. Judy Eggers. You know, I sat. Could there have been a better residential hall person than Judy Eggers? No.
What was your hardest day? Was there one day or one stretch where you found the time here? Because you are an optimist. I think that comes through, and people who know you know that. What was your hardest day or a hard period to get through here?
I probably, I can't, I can't. It wasn't hard for me necessarily. So I have to be careful with what I say at this point. It's not nothing bad, but I don't know. The hardest time around is just seeing that faculty and staff don't really understand the people, the kids that are coming in. I think that's the hardest part. Actually, it is the hardest part because you're saying we're serving everyone, but they will say, well, Scott Morris wears a baseball cap. He's a baseball player. He's one of those athletes.
There's a
That's just
stereotype or whatever you want to say. Sometimes that goes with that. Sure.
And they're great people. I'm not saying that. They are great people.
Mm-hmm.
But they just haven't. I was lucky enough to experience all kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
For example, up in Door County one time, I'm like 10 years old. My dad's driving me along between Sturgeon Bay and Egg Harbor, and these guys are out there playing cricket. So he says, hey, he pulls the car over. Let's go play cricket with these guys. Not one of them could speak English. Not one. But they were Jamaicans, I think. Anyway, and so we go out there and we play with them. And by the end, we're all smiling and laughing, and my dad's shaking hands with them, and they come over to me and talk to me in a way that I don't understand at all. But we were friends. Just
you didn't need to
it.
speak the language to each other to.
No, so I learned stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Your family, your children, your grandchildren, the Knueppel name is woven through the fabric of WLC.
Nobody knew how to pronounce Knueppel until finally I get Con Knueppel, Con 2 Knueppel. So now everybody, not just a few, millions.
Finally. It took your grandson to be drafted into the NBA to finally, once and for all.
Somebody knows how to pronounce my name.
Everybody to know how to pronounce it. What did it mean? What has it meant to see your kids, your grandkids, many of whom played here at WLC? I mean, to keep that tradition going, that even after you retired, you still had reasons to return, to watch them coach, watch them play.
Yeah. Well, it's great. It's family, and that's what our family is around sports. My wife was not a particular sports person, so that was really good because I didn't come home after I got beaten down again and have to re-talk and why are we here? She was great through all these things, Barbara. So that's another person I should have included early. As being a real helpmate, as good as anyone could be.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta know. We were just married, and we went out there, and in Fraser. And what did I do? I taught all day. I coached after that, and then I was So she'd bring supper over to me at like 6:30. Between me doing that and me working with these kids, and I should say that time was well spent.
Mm-hmm.
I've still got contacts with some of those guys, and they began to graduate from high school. So it was great.
Before we go, Coach.
That's why we do it, by the way. That's why we do it. To help people advance to help people create families. I don't know how else to say it. That's what it's about. So
You can't say it any better than that. I want to play 5 questions with you. I do this at the end of
No.
these conversations. Number 1, do you want to play 5 questions?
No.
Number 2, are you sure?
Yes. Okay.
Okay, here's what we're going to do. Because for people who don't know, your children, your grandchildren, it's tough to pinpoint one sport because they've excelled in many. But basketball, let's be honest, has kind of been at the center for most of them. Is that, I guess, fair to say?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm going to have you pick the Knueppel. All right? Number 1, in a basketball sense. And you coached a lot, but coached basketball. Number 1, you're down 3. You need a shot to tie. Send it to overtime. For whom do you draw up that 3-point play? Which Knueppel? Pick the Knueppel.
Well, first of all, I wouldn't pick a Knueppel, but I would pick Cantu. It's Cantu or his dad.
Okay.
Or Clay. Maybe Cole.
Oh, I see how this is going to go.
Not Clint.
Tell me which one you wouldn't pick.
Yeah.
Number 2, so you're down 2, but you want somebody driving. You want to drive to the basket. You want somebody going downhill. Whom do you choose to do that?
Cantu, I think he's stronger than the other guys a little bit. So.
Okay. Number 3, you're down 1, but you got 2 free throws coming.
Only one.
Who do you want shooting the free
Who would
throws?
it be? Clay. No doubt. I think he had 45 in a row in high school. And then he got here. He had one of his better things was he went to his first college stop was before he came here was at St. Cloud, Division II school. And he went there, and early on, about the middle of the first week, they came over and said practice was over and they were to shoot free throws, and he was shooting free throws. And one of the assistants came over and said, I'd like to adjust how you're holding the ball a little bit. And
Mechanics
make it a
of it,
little,
yeah.
the mechanics are a little bit better. And he said, can you wait until I miss one? I don't know what it was. It was like 110 or something. It was a lot. It either was 100 or it approached 100. I know that.
Okay, so number 4, you're up 1. Now you're up 1. You need a stop. You need a defensive stop to win the game. Whom do you put on the ball?
Clint, maybe.
Clint.
Football guy.
Number 5, who wins a Knueppel one-on-one pickup game? If you could put all the Knueppels in their prime, so at their peak, who wins a one-on-one tournament, let's say?
Con 1 would be hard to beat in that kind of thing. Very hard to beat.
Why?
Because he's 6'4", and he can
Yeah.
hit a shot dropping away from the basket like anybody.
How do you defend that?
Very good. And so I might take him, but I could take a lot of them.
Bonus question on the way out, Coach. What's your legacy at Wisconsin Lutheran College? What's the Paul F. Knueppel legacy at WLC? Athletics,
Hope he was
broader.
a Christian guy that was fun to be around. That's all. I see the girls, that we first recruited, which was God was just helpful to us because I had ended the team, women's team for a year. And then who comes to play for us? Renee Keatsman, Tracy Schneider, Erica Barr. Oh my gosh. See, I can't do that because then I'm going to leave off.
Start naming people, you get in
Holly
trouble.
Krennic, I didn't mean to leave you off. and some others were there with them. So we just had good players that could play, you know.
And a good coach.
Wayne Smith.
And a good coach's coach. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah.
I appreciate
Oh, you're
it.
more than welcome.
Thank you, sir.
you.